All right. Hello, Mom. I know this is a unorthodox way of saying hello, but it does make for a very original concept for a YouTube video. And I'm just going to get right into it, but I think that I've come up with something that can really help you, and it's already helped me a little bit, and I think a lot of people. And before I get into that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is and why I think I'm qualified to say that. And the overall key player that I'm going to talk about is thiamine in the brain. And the long story short, we just don't have enough. And I'm going to talk about why I think that and the evidence I have to make that conclusion. And first, I'm just going to kind of say, you always said that I would go on to do great things, and I think that that's really true. It's already true. Like, if I just passed tomorrow, I think I can say that I've done things that normal people just couldn't ever do. And I'm really proud of them. And I think I should be. The first thing is, I diagnosed and treated cyclic vomiting syndrome for Jenna. That girl was vomiting for 3 days at a time every month. And yeah, apparently the only GI doctor in Knoxville was just shrugging his shoulders and calling it IBS, and every ER doctor she went to just didn't know what to do with her. And part of that was also identifying she had ADHD and recommending that she get medicated. It reduced her anxiety a lot and made it a lot easier for her to eat. She had a really hard time eating breakfast, so I just told her to eat an Oreo every morning, for example, and then eventually it became 2 Oreos. And now she can eat spicier food. She has a real appetite. She's got the more normal problem of not gaining too much weight. Jenna's autistic. She's diagnosed autistic. I told her to get referred by her psychiatrist. She's not a closed case. It's a pretty textbook case. That may be kind of a surprise to you because she probably came off really well. That's because she's super intelligent. I'm not even joking. And she's just masking it. She's just hiding it. And generally, she's just really good at doing it. But, kind of at her work and jobs where it's just a little bit more stressful. And when she's surrounded by people who can kind of push her buttons, that's kind of when the mask slips. So, also with her brother, kind of technically half brother, my future brother-in-law, I noticed he was kind of stuttering and he had slowed speech. And I was pretty concerned because his working memory was so bad. He was telling a story and he would forget the punchline. He wouldn't say the point, but he would say certain details multiple times. He was just so all over the place. We both talked to his mom, and that's Jenna's mom too. And he got off the medicine and he switched to Concerta, doing way better on that. And my personal experience with ADHD drugs, I just kind of recommended that since he was having difficulties later in the day, he have a lower dosage instant release, kind of like I do, so that he can take it later in the day and then he doesn't have his problems, which worked. So I would say that all these things are things that normal people just aren't capable of doing. And that's why I think I'm just going to add another one to this list today. And we're just going to get right into it. So how did I come to this conclusion? Why do I think that thiamine is a big deal? Well, I noticed I take 10 milligrams of Adderall and my restless legs clear up and I'm asleep 30 minutes later. So I know you have restless legs, but I get it from you. And when I say I have restless legs, they do this. It's they literally, you smack my knee, at the doctor's office, and they just shoot right up. It's that bad. It's not even restless legs. It's just kicking legs. It's terrible. And so I told my psychiatrist this, and she's like, oh no, I've never heard of this. She has no patients like this. She's never heard of this. It's super weird. She's like, get a sleep study. I can't afford it. And so, yeah, 900 milligrams of caffeine in one day. My heart's fine. I sleep totally fine at night. Stimulant medication is just like, really medication in general. Actually, that's not true because NyQuil and Benadryl actually have a huge effect on me. So, like, depressants, like, just shut me down completely. Unisom makes me, like, incapacitated the next day. But stimulants, oh, those are, like, nothing. So it makes sense why I was never really a coffee kind of guy, because I get a Reign energy drink with 300 milligrams of caffeine in it, and then I finally feel something. You know, like if I just have 200 milligrams of caffeine, I actually tested this, and I don't take my ADHD meds, I can't even feel 200 milligrams of caffeine. It's like 3 cups of coffee. So through my research, I just kind of came to the conclusion I'd probably get the COMT GG variant from Dad, which is, I'm not going to get through the whole thing, don't worry. That just means it's like a dopamine clearance gene. There's all these genes that will regulate enzymes in your brain that pick up neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, all that, right? And what that does is, you know, someone's like throwing a punch at you, for example, that's acute stress. And then in response, your brain will release a lot of those enzymes that will suck up those neurotransmitters, which will allow you to react to the stress in different ways. So a lot of that is genetic, you know, for example, like being able to hold frame in a courtroom, you know, like not get stressed or so under pressure that you can't really perform. It's something I'm sure you've seen many times where perfectly intelligent people step into a courtroom and they just lose it. They just can't do it. In some cases, I'm sure you've seen people freeze up. They're warriors. You know, they can't function in high pressure environments. And just because MAOA is X-linked, and I'm going to talk about this more in a second, I think I get it from you. Once I started kind of going into MAOA and MAOB and kind of what it does specifically, you'll see why I'm under that impression and how this is going to end up linking to thymine later. But yeah, in general, ADHD genes just make you more resilient to stress because it just has this increased enzyme activity in the brain. It makes it so you want to move around more, right? You're more fidgety. I'm just very hyperactive, like just extremely. Just generally, I've done it in ways that are polite throughout my life, but I mean, I've always been hyperactive. And obviously, you know, homework is impossible. Homework is always impossible. That's because, yeah, it's just so boring, right? I just cannot stay engaged. And this should remind you of doing your time. You would always tell me, Mom, right? Doing your time is the worst part of your job as a lawyer. That's probably not a common complaint that lawyers have. But I would predict that lawyers who were really good at trial probably also have this problem. And lawyers that think doing their time is totally simple and fine probably struggle going to trial. That, like I'm saying, that there's actually a direct link there because of these ADHD genes. And then there's obviously things like you'll forget to pay a bill or something, and then the power goes off, and you know that's kind of like an ADHD trait. But COMT is like the really really common ADHD gene, and I don't think you have that one because that's the one that makes it where it really seems like you have ADHD. That's like the one that's really obvious. So let's get into the one that is kind of more focused on you, because really, Mom, this video is about you. And the reason why I started looking into MAO, that's monoamine oxidase, is because it's X-linked. And do I know for sure if you have it? No. but I think it's kind of likely for several reasons where you have like, and when I say everyone has a gene, but what I'm saying is you have a variant of these genes where you express a very large amount of these enzymes. So you express a very large amount of monoamine oxidase A. You just have a lot of this enzyme in your brain. Same with B. Why do I think this? So, compared to MAOB, MAOA has a higher specificity for serotonin and norepinephrine, while the two enzymes have similar affinity for dopamine and tyramine. So, we're going to go back to mice. Not back to mice, but just down to mice. Maybe that's one of the other ones. Is that in this one? Oh yeah, the mice one is on this one. We're not there yet. MAOA has been studied pretty thoroughly. And at first, I was kind of more on the MAOA line of thought. But I'm remembering always that, if I'm taking Adderall and going to sleep 30 minutes later, while that really does suck to deal with, that actually is really, really helpful from a diagnostic standpoint because we're really clear on what the problem is. The levels are too low. And it's really, really unlikely that you have a drastically different problem just being my direct mother. Okay. You probably just have chemicals in your brain that are just too low. These neurotransmitters, you just don't have enough of them. And that's just making life hard. Let's go on to the next one. Moab. Right. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about, and I'm trying to keep it concise. So if I miss something, just bear with me. But I highlighted this. More active polymorphisms of the MAOB gene have been linked to negative emotionality and suspected as an underlying factor in depression. And one thing that I found is interesting is this one right here. So transgenic mice, so they basically just kind of made lab mice that just didn't have MAOB at all, were resistant to Parkinson's disease, right? They tried to give them Parkinson's disease in these mice, and they couldn't do it. So there's some weird link between MAOB and Parkinson's, and MAOB inhibitors are actually prescribed for Parkinson's, which is interesting, and we'll go over that in a little bit. And trust me, we are going to get to a point very quickly. They also demonstrate increased responsiveness to stress, as well as with MAO, knockout mice. And increased the stuff, which this is the big compound I don't think that we have enough of. That's kind of the we share. And I will talk about that in just a second. That's on this page. Parkinson's disease, I'm not going to spend too much time on this page because I don't think we have Parkinson's. I don't think that we're really actually even at risk of developing Parkinson's because certain things that are kind of key indicators of Parkinson's are things that we just simply do not have any problem with. An impaired sense of smell. You very notoriously have an amazing sense of smell. And compared to you, I really don't, but compared to Jenna, I have an amazing sense of smell. Compared to normal people, regular people, I actually do have a very good sense of smell. Spatial awareness, yeah, I struggle with that. But when it comes to recognizing faces, emotions, reading, both of us read so well, recognize faces so well, emotions, this is something that's the back of our hand, right? But look, restless leg syndrome. So wait, think about this, right? I'm reading, I see, mice that can't produce MAOB are resistant to Parkinson's. Then I go over here. And then Parkinson's is linked to restless legs, REM sleep behavior disorder, which I know I have because of the way I dream. I just dream. The way I dream is really strange. I can sleep for 15 minutes and have a dream. sometimes can be fairly long. It makes me think there's no way I only slept for 15 minutes. Excessive daytime sleepiness, altered circadian rhythm. This part is so interesting. Also associated with a variety of skin disorders like melanoma, which I think Gran had, eczema, obviously, and rosacea. That is kind of strange, right? Because where I'm going with that is, okay, so MAOB, representing that, does that give you increased risk of Parkinson's? And is that kind of driving restless legs? Is that driving like certain skin issues? And then I go to tyramine. This is like the big page here, okay? This is when things are all going to start making a lot of sense. Tyramine occurs widely in plants and animals. It's metabolized by the monoamine oxidases. But let's look at like specific foods containing considerable amounts of tyramine. Strong or aged cheeses. Well, I'm vegan, and you've actually always said you like cheese. And I remembered that and thought that that was interesting. Meats that are cured, well, we're not really like a big cured meats kind of family, I would say. Tofu, though, I'm huge on tofu. Pickles, as I've gotten older, pickles have tasted better and better. Miso soup, I love miso soup. Soy, teriyaki, bouillon-based sauces, like, I feel like, yeah, we've always liked kind of those. Look at this, though, drinks. Beer, but tap or homebrewed mostly. Vermouth, red wine, sherry, and liqueurs. Red wine. Interesting. Beans, vegetables, and fruits. It doesn't list it here, but I've seen that lentils are specifically high in tyramine. And then chocolate. So, now it makes sense, because I've kind of observed that you really don't have an alcohol problem. You actually have like a red wine problem. And that makes so much sense. Because if you eat a lot of cheese, you know what happens? You get fat. If you eat a lot of chocolate, you know what happens? You get fat. So, yeah, red wine. Right? And it probably does scratch an itch for you that nothing else really does. And look at what is happening in the world that makes it so hard for us. This paragraph is so disgusting to me. Scientists more and more consider tyramine in food as an aspect of safety. They propose projects of regulations aimed to enact control of blah, 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 blah. Some authors wrote that this has already given positive results, and tyramine content in food is now lower than it has been in the past. Wow. Well, no wonder it's actually getting harder for us as the years go on. No wonder. Because we're literally just becoming malnourished. And I've already tested this to a small extent. We literally just got like a thing of cocoa, and I did it this morning. And I mixed it with water, and I drank it, and it was terrible. It tasted awful, but it actually did make me feel better. It improved my mood. I tasted something that was nasty, and I did end up just adding chocolate milk because I couldn't finish the whole thing. But even just the half thing of it was probably like, I don't know, 30 milligrams of cocoa. That improved my mood. It actually worked. So my hypothesis is that people who have very, very overactive, like MAOB enzyme activity in their brain, are exhibiting more ADHD symptoms, such as restless leg syndrome, such as like emotional impulsivity, boredom, stress, right? That like this is all like happening somewhat because of an actual just simple malnutrition issue. And I'm not going to pull up the page because it's getting too long already. But like for example, in Florida, they've actually just straight up banned anything that has tyramine in it, which by the letter of the law actually does ban chocolate and other kinds of cheeses and foods like that. And it's just like, you know, the world is run by idiots. Truly, it's run by idiots. And I just feel like we're the ones suffering for it. And, you know, because a bunch of foolish scientists have done something without thinking about it, without making public warnings about what could happen if you don't get enough for some people, we have to suffer for it. Our relationships had to suffer for it. So I don't really think it's your fault, because over the past couple of years, I've kind of started looking at human behavior more through a neurochemist point of view and less through a philosophical point of view. And that's why I went ahead and ordered some PEA powder, phenylethylamine. So I'm going to try it. You can also try it as well. There is actually a way that you can, if you're not sure, test this hypothesis to see if it's true or not before you make any changes, if you want. Any good claim should be falsifiable, right? For anyone listening, I should be able to be wrong. Anybody who says things and they can't even be wrong, that's because they're not saying anything worth listening to. So I'm saying something that could be wrong, like you could prove it wrong. That's really important. And what you do is you take your urine and you're looking at the amount of phenylacetic acid in your urine. It's a potential biomarker for people with ADHD, because if you have really aggressive enzyme activity in your brain that takes this compound up, you're eventually going to kind of run out, and the quantity in your urine is just going to be low. So, as kind of a summary, I do genuinely think that a lot of your problem is just that you've been slowly getting malnourished over time because people are idiots, and other scientists don't know what they're talking about. It's kind of a weird thing for me to say. It's a weird video to make. Obviously, it's weird for me too, but I've just been thinking about this so much the past few days. I tried to go home last week and make this video during my break, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get all the research together to make kind of a coherent case. And there's a lot that I've left out. There's like so much more to all of this, but I feel like the video's already gone so long, and it just feels like there's a lot that I haven't said. But maybe that's okay. There's just so many little things, like how 34% of patients with major depressive disorder have like elevated MAOA levels in the brain and all that stuff. And I did look a lot into MAOA, but I think MAOB is more likely. If you're interested in getting on like an MAOB inhibitor or something like that, it's possible that can have a really good beneficial effect for people who have really high enzyme activity in their brain. But um, it's really hard for women to get put on these things because they just want to toss you around between like the 20 different SSRIs on the market before they actually decide to put you on something that works. I remember you saying that you were on medicine at one point, and it kind of made you just feel like you didn't say the word zombie, but I've heard other people say the word zombie when they're put on SSRIs, and that makes sense because if you have low levels of these chemicals in general, and the only one you increase is serotonin, the thing that's going to happen is you're not going to be argumentative or confrontational or anything like that, but you're going to have no energy. You're going to have no norepinephrine or dopamine, and you're just going to feel out of it. You're not going to feel good either. You're just going to be like blank. Okay, it's like not a good existence. Nobody of any value wants somebody they care about to feel that way. So don't let some quack just throw you on like the SSRI gauntlet to get you to where you want to be, right? It's just not even worth it. I'm really happy that I found phenylethylamine because this is something you can just kind of like still, it's illegal in Florida, I believe, but it's not illegal in Georgia. It's not illegal in Tennessee. So you can just get this, try it. I think that I've made at least a compelling enough case for that. I've also made the observation that a lot of white people really like cheese. It's actually a joke in the Boondocks about how white people just really like cheese, which I thought was really funny. I haven't really been a big cheese guy, but I always have really loved chocolate. And I just wonder if there's a connection there. It just makes me think of that, right? There's like so many things like that where I think you can probably kind of identify with that, where you're trying to make a case to somebody and you have like 20 different points and they all do kind of build up to a narrative. And it does make sense, but they just, you lose them like on point 4 or 5 and they just stop following. Like I think you can probably relate to that really strongly. I also made a video on polytropism, which if you want to watch, I think you should probably watch that one. Also, I would say I really wanted you to know that I just don't want you to feel like I want a relationship with you for your money. And every time you sent me money, I'm like, well, damn, I can't talk to her now because it's going to look like I just want her money. And it genuinely isn't that. And when I say, like, actually just write me out of the will, it's not really like a hateful thing. It's like I just don't want to have a relationship with you where it has anything to do with money. It's genuinely just that finding somebody who is really intelligent and really polytropic is extremely rare. And I just genuinely think that you are one of the more interesting people that I can talk to. And that there's a lot of value you have just for that. Like, there's a reason why you're a good trial lawyer. Because you have traits that people don't even know about. And they just help you. It helps you excel in the courtroom. So, like, when I say polytropism, what I'm talking about is kind of the other side of monotropism, which is a theory of autism that explains like how autism really works with sensory perception. I'm clicking so much. And basically it says like autistic people struggle the way they do because they can't process a lot of different channels of sensory information. They don't do well in like chaotic environments. They do have like very fixed schedules, fixed routines. Um, it's like they're kind of like less flexible, like less adaptable, and it's not really an intelligence thing. The people like kind of falsely correlate autism with low intelligence. And just reading the DSM-5 for autism, like go look at the DSM-5 for autism right now. And what you'll observe is that things that they struggle with are all things that you do extremely well. And that's what I mean by polytropism, right? Saying the opposite of autism just sounds weird. If you want more information, like obviously I made a video about it with Jenna. So that way you can kind of get both sides of the spectrum. I'm just saying that there's one spectrum, there's a like autism spectrum, and we're all on it. And we just kind of arbitrarily call it autism once you are like sufficiently monotropic. But there's really a lot to be said for being able to hear a new idea and connect it with like 2 or 3 other things you've already experienced, and then connect dots there. That like that's not really intelligence. It's like it's almost like perception, I guess. And like in a social setting, it's more like charisma, which kind of just how my life went. I just wasn't really able to demonstrate that I was charismatic, but I realize now I'm actually extremely charismatic. Kind of like when we were at that one dance. It wasn't really a dance party. It was like a Christmas party, and I was like 12 or something. And I like went up to the DJ and told him to play "We Are Family," and then and he did, and then everybody in the room loved it, and you were like, "Oh my god, JR, you're so cool." It's like that kind of thing. Like right when you take away the whole eczema thing, I'm like the coolest kid ever. I've seen polytropes like since I've kind of found this theory and I coined the term. Taking it's mine. Nobody can take it away from me. I've like seen other people who I would consider to be polytropic, but nobody is as smart as me or you. It's like not even close, and I don't think that it's common, just by like random chance, because like I'm not gonna bring anything up. Like imagine if you're like 2 standard deviations more intelligent than everybody else. It's just less likely that you're also gonna be like 2 standard deviations more polytropic than everybody else. So you probably do actually want to talk to me again, because it's probably really hard to find people that are interesting to talk to. That's my experience. And I just remember like living with you. Like I know like we would have our differences and everything, but I would go down and there would be like a whole bunch of people sometimes if you were having a party or whatever. And I would go talk to you, and then I would just kind of like go up to my room because I talked to the most interesting person in the room as I saw it. And then everybody else was kind of boring to me, and I just left. I mean, it's kind of mean, but it's actually kind of true. So I would say I do miss you very much in that regard. And I think my point in saying all that is I just wanted you to understand that you have that value, and that's why like the money doesn't really matter to me. And I wanted to really prove that. I just wanted you to be really sure that that was true, because I think it's just really sad to like always not know if some people are around you for your money or not. And I do think there's also something that just kind of bothers me about having people who have ADHD traits, right? They're more resilient to stress. And when things get bad, you send them out to go fight your battles for you. And then they come back and you treat them like shit and they get nothing for it. That's just really bad. It's just horrible. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what's happened to you. It's just kind of sad. So it wasn't really surprising to me at all when I heard that you're trying to go back to being a lawyer and then you don't like working at Amazon. My prediction is that you're probably smarter than your boss. You're probably more perceptive than your boss. If you were bored at your job and wanted to like engineer like a settlement where you could sue them and everything, it'd be really easy because all you'd have to do is just be yourself. And a lot of those kind of people are going to get really insecure and really jealous of you because you're probably way smarter than them and more charismatic and prettier and just, like genuinely. And they're going to start hating. And when they start hating, they're going to say some stupid shit. And then you can build a case on them and document it over months, which apparently is what happened, like I predicted. And then, you're going to probably do very well. Like, I totally believe in your ability to wreck them, honestly. Because I now fully kind of understand how rare we are. Like, it's just like there's so few people like us, So it also sucks that they like change the food supply in a way for regular normal people that just happens to hurt us, right? It just like sucks. I think that you'd really benefit from being on PEA and everything like that. I think it's absolutely worth trying. I think it could totally change your life. I think that proper medication could totally change your life. Just like today, for example, like Morgan, one of Jenna's friends, was over and she was saying how she gets restless leg syndrome and then she like eats chocolate and then she's fine. And I just can't imagine with like all these little anecdotes I have. I just can't imagine I'm wrong. I guess I haven't ruled it out scientifically because I just don't have that capability to do right now, but I am kind of doing all I can. And even though this video feels really incomplete, and I know I don't know everything necessarily, I also know that I'm onto something and that I'm getting closer and closer. And I know that I'm closer than just about most everybody else. And it just feels like every day that passes and I don't make the video, it's like it's just a day that goes by that it could be a day that's just better for you. And that's why I made it. That's why this video is not quite as professional as like a lot of the other ones I've made. Because it's like really late. It's like 11:30 or something right now, 11:22 p.m. And I really should be in bed by now. I have work tomorrow. But just not having made this video has been bothering me genuinely lately. So yeah, I made the video because I love you and I just want you to feel better.